Hi, I'm Ali Paterson and welcome to a very special lockdown Covid-19 episode of the Paytech Show. Today we are going to be having an in-depth look into small medium businesses, or as they're called in America, mom and pop shops. I love that they're called mom and pop shops. We're going to be looking at the effect that Covid has had on the retail space and small businesses as a whole. Joining me today is none other than Dr. Christine Bailey from Valitor, who is also a fellow co-author of the Paytech book. Christine and Fintech Finance's Doug McKenzie had an interview before Covid-19 hit, which has changed the retail landscape somewhat, to put it mildly. Christine, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. Now, to really get a sense of the impact of the virus, what were the biggest changes for retail in the last couple of years leading up to Covid?
I remember presenting at a conference in 2019, and I said that 2018 was the worst year ever for retailers. I think we can safely say that 2020 has trumped 2018 as the worst year for retailers. But if we look at why they were saying it was the worst year back in 2018, it was because rising business rates, increasing costs, and consumers having less spending power, less money in their pocket, and looking for a bargain. And retailers were prioritising price and promotion over the product and the experience. So savvy shoppers are just, the great British public love a bargain. They were just waiting for the sales. We also did some research at the time looking at what people felt about their high street, and we found that less than half of people were still enjoying that high street experience when we're visiting their high street, and they were saying it's outdated, it's not fun, we'd rather shop online. So with those things combined, 2018 was a really bad year, and it's not got any better since. So we've seen a lot of retailers going out of business, we've seen mass store closures and a lot of redundancies, and of course that trend has now just massively accelerated because of Covid-19. So we've just conducted some new research with WBR, and we wanted to find out how small and medium-sized businesses in the UK were coping with the pandemic. So we interviewed 300 of those businesses, doing telephone interviews, and I guess no surprise to me, only 2% said there's been no change, and I'm surprised we even found 2% that said there'd been no change. So 63% said they've had to close temporarily. And we've witnessed that a lot at Valitor because, our customers are all small and medium-sized businesses, and a lot of them are in the hospitality sector, and they've just had to close. 19% of them said, the retailers said, well, we're still open, but with completely different opening hours. But the big trend is the move online. So 30% have said, we are now doing business online and we weren't doing it before. So that's the standout trend that's happened as a result of the pandemic.
It's easy for SMBs to feel a lot of doom and gloom during the pandemic, but is there an opportunity amongst all of this?
Yeah, so while we've seen that the pandemic has set everybody back, there's no doubting that. The great British public or the small businesses, we're an optimistic bunch. So it's a case of when one door closes, another one opens. And in the recent research we did, 65% of businesses say that the pandemic has opened up new opportunities for them. And I think some of those are obvious. I mean, we saw it in our payments data at Valitor, that during the complete lockdown, 90% of our business was coming from a very small number of industry sectors, so what we call the MCC codes, the small sectors. And we had 19 of those, and some were very obvious, so the convenience stores, the fast food, the takeout. Some were not quite so obvious, so a massive increase in business for florists. And I thought, oh, that's lovely. People are sending each other flowers to cheer up their friends. And a florist said to me, no, it's because there's a lot more funerals. Okay. But, just imagine you're selling hand sanitizer or toilet roll, big opportunity. A lot of, like garage petrol stations were able to sell a lot more than they normally would. And if we look within the research at just a few different examples of sectors, with restaurants, an obvious one is people starting to sell takeout and, putting their menu online, taking payments over the telephone, getting people to come and pick up the food. Also, restaurants are saying now, yes, they're open again, but they have to the tables have to be, socially distant. So they're looking at providing a much more luxurious experience to their customers because they will have fewer guests. We think about car dealerships. We had an example there where, the showroom was closed, but people still wanted to have their car serviced. So they were offering a personal service to go and pick the car up from their home, take it to be serviced, and then bring it back again. Also, some examples with retailers where people having to think more about giving content and advice to their customers about how to use their products in a different way, or maybe thinking about selling a different product range that's a lot more valid in this COVID world. So generally speaking, yes, lots of doom and gloom, but 65% saying actually this is going to open up new opportunities for us.
Can you give me some overarching strategies that UK SMBs have implemented to survive this pandemic?
So we've seen some very creative strategies to get through this, and if we think about how we need to make profit, we've either got to reduce our costs or we've got to increase our revenue. So the first one, reducing our costs. 41% of the companies that we interviewed said yes, they've reduced their overheads and cut their costs. And certainly at Valitor, we've been doing the same and making use of some of the fantastic government initiatives like the job retention scheme of the furlough. So that's one thing certainly that people have managed. 41% have found a way to reduce their costs. But what about increasing the revenue? What strategies have people deployed there? So 37% have changed their product offering. So as I mentioned earlier, they're thinking about new products and services that are much more relevant in a COVID world. And people have been thinking about how they deliver the experience differently to their customers. Remember the example of the car dealership saying that they were going to somebody's house, picking up their car and dropping it back to them afterwards. So basically, they're doing things differently. They're also expanding their geographical reach. So restaurants reaching into people's homes by having takeout or delivery services. And 65% have said that they've expanded their channels. And that could either be through online, so we knew that 30% have said, right, we're now doing business online and we weren't before. But the other one to remember is the telephone orders. So 26% have said they've started taking telephone orders, and guess what? They're going to carry on doing that even post-COVID. So it could be that your website doesn't have the capability of doing e-commerce, but still you can show your menu online, or you can have people booking your services online, you can show your produce, and there's some fantastic apps like Shop Appy, which helps small businesses easily and quickly and cheaply get an online presence. And then people can either, with Shop Appy you can actually pay online, but otherwise you can take telephone orders and have people come and collect them. So click and collect is another big trend that we're seeing in this post-COVID world.
One of the biggest changes for SMBs is obviously e-commerce and the ability to sell not just products but services online. How has this changed since the pandemic? Well,
the trend towards digitalisation was already there. It's just been massively accelerated because of COVID. So 95% of the British population was already accessing the internet. 86% were searching for products and services online, and 81% had actually made a purchase online of a product or a service. So those are stats from January this year from Data Reportal. So that trend was already there massively. The UK is slightly behind on social commerce, so only about 26% of consumers are buying things through social platforms compared to a world average of 35%, so still a bit of work to catch up there. But we've seen a massive increase in people accessing social and people starting to do social commerce. So that trend was already there. Fast forward to what's happened in the pandemic, and McKinsey did a piece of research looking at virtual sales behaviour. So they were saying that 90% of selling was actually now happening in a virtual environment because of COVID, but more than half said they were never going to go back to the old way of selling. So more than half would continue in this more virtual sales environment. And that makes sense. We've known for a long time in marketing that 2/3 of the buyer's journey happens online. So if you're not online with your marketing and have a superb digital presence, you're going to lose out. So in this piece of research, as we heard, 44% of customers plan to continue with online commerce even after the pandemic. So the important thing to remember is understand what motivates your customers and what sets you apart in delivering an excellent customer experience, because often what motivates your customers to be loyal to you in an offline world will translate through to how you're going to get them to be loyal to you in an online world. Of course, there's other things to think about online, so you'll need to partner with a really good payment provider who's going to support that customer experience and make sure that people actually, most important thing is they pay for their goods and don't just abandon the shopping cart because there's some difficulty at the payment stage. So most important thing, understand your customers, deliver a fantastic experience online, partner with a good payment provider, and this trend towards digital and virtual buying and selling is here to stay.
What are some of the business barriers to online growth?
Yes, so if online is the way to go and the thing that every business wants to do, what are the main business barriers to being successful online? So that's one of the questions in our survey. And we found that number one, 44% said that compliance with data security regulations was their biggest barrier. So the recommendation for me, of course, is to partner with a reputable payment service provider, and then GDPR will not be an impediment to your growth. The next one, 40%, was competition from other businesses. And it's so much easier to compare in an online world. So people are feeling, a lot more pressure from their competitors. Another big one was concerns around online fraud. Real concern, especially if people that haven't used that channel before. So again, partner with a good payment service provider. 32% said building a website with e-commerce capability was a challenge, and I totally get that, and I would say the alternative to that is to go with somebody like ShopAppy, who will help you get online really easily, or you could also just have a shop front as your website. So your website is a shop front where you display your goods and services and your menus or whatever online, and then you take orders over the telephone if you've got Moto with your payment company. Around that is also lack of expertise. People are worried about not knowing how to do it online. 32% attracting customers. Now, I think this very much mirrors the offline world. If you don't know how to attract customers in the offline world, you're probably going to struggle to attract in the online world. And as I mentioned earlier, 2/3 of buyers are researching the products and services online. So you've got to understand digital and social if you're going to embark on e-commerce. Another one was lack of funding. People worried about how much this was going to cost them. And the last one was just worrying about how they were going to deliver goods when they're not used to having a logistics capability. So yeah, lots of things to think about.
Going back to the good old bricks and mortar, have you noticed a change in the way that people are paying for their products and services within the stores?
Yes, big change in how people are paying for goods and services. In the research that we've just done, 59% of businesses said they'd seen a decrease in the number of cash payments. Can you think to the last time that you used cash? I actually had to think about this, and it was probably when I went to put air in my car tyres was the last time that I used cash. So big change there. And businesses are having to make sure, first of all, they can accept card payments. Can they accept them online and offline? Massive trend towards contactless, and the contactless limit has changed from £30 to £45. Are businesses equipped to take cash, to take card payments, card payments over the telephone, and can they take card payments online?
How can SMB owners really react to these changes in an easy and an efficient manner?
So how are small businesses behaving or reacting differently? That's another question that we ask in this survey, and we found that 76% are advertising strict hygiene measures. So lots of good information about markings on the floor and hand sanitizers and notices about taking card payments. So that's definitely the biggest one. This has come up a few times. 37% are saying they're advertising new offers, new products and services. We also mentioned this one, 1/3 of them are saying they are increasing their social media presence. So it's not just about digital, it's also about social, and a lot more people are starting to be active on social or to buy products through social. 32% are offering loyalty programs. And again, you can now have a loyalty program actually on your card machine, which is, we've just launched a new loyalty app on our card machines. It's fantastic. You don't have to carry, 10, 20 different loyalty cards around. It can now be done at the card machine. So loyalty really, really important in this post-COVID world. And of course, the other big one is offering payment holidays to customers to help them, get through these tough times.
I mean, selling a physical product is one thing, but an experience based on businesses like golf courses or hotels, they face different challenges. What success stories or opportunities do these organisations offer?
Yes, the service industry's had it particularly tough, haven't they? They've been the ones that have been closed the longest. But again, we're seeing some really inspiring examples of how people have got very creative and are doing things differently. So if we think about golf clubs, golf is not a contact sport, so they've still been able to open, but in a different way. The clubhouse hasn't been open, but actually we've had examples from golf clubs that have been offering training courses online, which they haven't done before, and seen a much bigger take-up of that. If you think about hotels, well, some of them are doing takeaway or food order deliveries. They also say they're taking the time to think about how they can improve their service offering, how they can do things differently when they're able to open again. So again, lots of creativity and lots of good ideas about how to do things differently.
SMB owners have a myriad of issues that plague them, even without the virus. What are some of the key demands when it comes to their payment service providers?
Yes, so we asked people what were their key demands that they were looking for from their payment service provider. And over 52% said, we want 24/7 support. I actually think it's easy. People tend to say, well, I want 24/7 support, but actually they don't mean 24/7. We see that we have most demand for support from 8 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And we have very, very little demand between, in the early hours of the morning. So I think the important thing is people want friendly, reliable support. They also want reliable technology. They want fast and free setup. Now, a lot of companies put in an admin fee or a setup fee. We don't at Valitor, and people are saying they want fast and free setup. They also want fast settlement times because cash flow is a big problem at the moment. So look at a payment service provider that can offer you those faster settlements. People want help and advice about how they can get the most from payments. They want good reporting software that's free, and they want free statements. So basically they need the support, they need fast setup, transparent, simple pricing, and faster settlements. Those are the key things that people want.
What do you think of the postponement of strong customer authentication in the UK? Will this help SMBs in this difficult time, or is this just kicking that can down the road and delaying another retail hurdle?
Yes, so SMB merchants are certainly facing very challenging times, so we welcome the decision to postpone SCA, and we think that will be very good for the industry.
How can businesses make the move to become more like e-tailers? What should they do, and is there still room for bricks and mortar in a post-COVID world?
Of course there's room for both. And it might sound like a cliche, but the new normal is never going to look the same as it did before. So based on the research that we've done and the things we've talked about in this interview, what advice would I give to small businesses to protect their business moving forward? The first one is to think about what products and services are relevant in this new world. So think about how you can adapt them and make them more suitable to this new world. The second one is thinking about your channels to market. We've seen a big increase in e-commerce, in the use of social commerce, and also in taking payments over the telephone. We've also seen a big decrease in cash payments. So now is a good time to think about, are you partnered with the right payment services provider? And things to look out for are UK support 24/7, or a wide range, maybe not 24/7, but at least between 8 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night. Also, is it simple and fast to get set up? Are there any hidden fees like admin or setup fees? Can you get onboarded very quickly? Is there simple and transparent pricing? Is there reliable payment technology? Because if you are completely dependent on card payments, it's a crisis if the technology doesn't work. And also faster settlements to help with your cash flow. So those are the things to think about to protect your business, to protect your customer base. Remember how many people said that they were advertising their strict hygiene measures. I think that's really important to consumers still to see that, to be directed about how they need to, stand in line or enter the restaurant or clean their hands or whatever. So advertise those hygiene measures. Increase your social media presence. We know that 2/3 of the buyer's journey already happened online before COVID, and that has just accelerated. So make sure you increase your social and your digital presence, and you get really, really good at marketing online. Use loyalty incentives. Think about introducing a loyalty program, and one that you can do simply and easily, maybe on your card terminal. And with all of those things, we wish everybody the very best of luck in this post-COVID world.